Episode 1 to 317, we open on Daniel Cross in a psychiatric ward, not his apartment, not Manhattan, a white room. No windows. A camera in the corner. He wakes at 3:17 a.m., but this time, the camera is already on, and someone is watching him from the other side of the glass, a man in a suit, taking notes. Cut to black, title card, we rewind, Daniel Cross, respected forensic psychologist. Media personality. Courtroom expert, except something feels off, the lighting is too cinematic, the interviews too polished, the crime scenes too staged. When the first body appears with witness carved into the chest, the news coverage feels rehearsed, almost scripted. In episode 1's final scene, Daniel checks security footage of the warehouse. He zooms in on the blurred suspect. The suspect pauses, turns toward the camera, and instead of a blurred face, it's a production slate. Like a film marker, clap, cut, Daniel stares, the screen glitches, then normal again. Episode 2, the edit, Daniel begins noticing continuity errors. A coffee mug switches hands between shots. A detective's tie changes color mid-conversation. A newspaper headline referencing events that haven't happened yet. He confronts Detective Laura. Do you ever feel like something's being cut out? She stares at him. Cut out of what? He whispers, of the narrative. That night at 3:17 a.m., Daniel doesn't wake up, he freezes. The entire room freezes, time pauses, the walls retract, studio. Lights descend from the ceiling. Crew members walk in casually. A director's voice echoes, reset him. He's becoming aware too early. A technician approaches Daniel and injects something into his neck. Everything goes black. Daniel wakes again. Back to episode 1's starting point, psychiatric ward, but this time he remembers, not fully. Just fragments, flashes of lights. Cameras. Crew, he searches his room. Under the mattress, he finds a file. Inside, a contract. Signed, by him. Title, Project, Subconscious Witness, Format, Psychological Reality Series, Lead Subject, Dr. Daniel Cross, Duration, Indefinite, Memory Suppression Protocol, Active. Daniel reads one line repeatedly. Subject consented to immersive psychological breakdown experiment to explore guilt, identity, and constructed morality. He signed this, but why? Episode 4, The Truth About Aaron Vale. Aaron Vale was never real. He's an actor. Daniel finds behind-the-scenes footage, Vale laughing betwee. Takes, shaking Daniel's hand. But Daniel doesn't remember filming this. Then the biggest revelation, Claire Donovan, the original murder victim, is alive. Interview clip. I agreed to play the victim because Daniel wanted to confront his ego. Daniel watches in horror. There was no murder 5 years ago. There was no framed man. It was a staged immersive experiment. So why do the recent bodies feel real? Because they are. Someone changed the script. Episode 5, The Producer. The man in the suit watching Daniel from behind the glass is revealed. Executive producer, Malcolm Reed, a former neuroscientist turned media visionary. His idea, what if you could strip someone of narrative control? Erase their memory, place them in a constructed reality, observe what truth surfaces naturally. Daniel volunteered years ago. He wanted to prove a theory: if guilt is implanted, the brain will manufacture confession. The entire first season of his life. His life was scripted, the murders fake, the trial fake, the breakdown engineered. But during production of season 2, a real body appeared, carved with witness. The crew panicked. Daniel wasn't supposed to kill anyone, but he had full memory suppression. Meaning, if he killed, he didn't know it, and the cameras were rolling the whole time. Episode 6, Raw Footage. Daniel demands unedited footage. Malcolm shows him hours of Daniel alone in his apartment. No cuts, no crew, no manipulation. At 3:17 a.m., Daniel stands up, walks calmly to his desk, takes a knife, leaves. Returns at 4:09 a.m., blood on his cuffs, no expression, sits down, stares at camera, whispers, I know you're watching. Daniel breaks, this isn't scripted. Malcolm replies, we stopped scripting 2 years ago. You became more interesting unsupervised. Episode 7, The Real Twist. Daniel thinks he's the killer. The audience thinks he's the killer. Malcolm thinks he's the killer. until a forensic tech reviews one anomaly. Every time Daniel leaves at 3:17, there's a 2-minute blackout in the feed. Not editing, not cuts, signal interference. Something hijacks the broadcast. Malcolm checks satellite routing. The interference is coming from inside the facility, from another room, identical to Daniel's. There's another subject, same face, same voice, same DNA. Project notes reveal. Phase 3 included cloning neural architecture using AI-driven behavioral replication. They didn't just suppress Daniel's memory, they copied his mind. The other Daniel, Subject B, was unstable, aggressive, unscripted, and not meant to interact with the real world, but he escaped containment, and every time cameras glitch, it's not editing, it's switching. 2 Daniels, one conscious, one feral, neither fully aware of the other. Episode 8, the final reveal. Daniel confronts Subject B in a mirrored room. They are identical. Subject B smiles. You always wanted to know what you'd become without morality. You built me. Malcolm watches from above, but then the final twist drops. The camera pulls back, further. The entire facility is on a massive soundstage. Inside a larger structure, a broadcast logo appears on monitors. Subconscious witness. Live global stream, millions of viewers, real-time voting, comments. Scrolling, audience polls influencing Daniel's memory suppression levels. The world has been watching for years. The experiment was entertainment, and Daniel never volunteered. The signature on the contract, forged. Claire Donovan was real. And she really died. The first murder 5 years ago wasn't staged. Daniel really killed her. The show began as damage control. A billionaire media conglomerate realized they could monetize the cover-up, erase his memory, turn confession into spectacle. Create a monster narrative. Keep the truth buried under layers of fiction. Malcolm leans into camera. Truth is irrelevant. Engagement is everything. Daniel looks directly into the broadcast lens and says, then let's give them something real. He walks towards Subject B. They begin fighting. Cameras shake, alarms blare. In the chaos, Daniel grabs Malcolm's access card, locks down the facility, overrides broadcast. Every hidden file, every raw recording, every real murder goes public. No edits, no narrative, just truth. The feed cuts worldwide. Black screen, silence, then a final frame. 3:17 a.m., a bedroom. A completely different person wakes up, a woman. She looks at the clock, whispers, I remember. Camera pulls back. Hidden in her room, a lens, recording, cut to black. Season 2 possibility, reality flip. The woman is revealed to be Daniel's original psychologist. She designed the suppression protocol, and now she's trapped in her own experiment. But here's the final mindbender, there never were 2 Daniels. Subject B was the audience's projection. The glitch was the moment the viewer blinked. The entire show exists inside a neural simulation being tested on you. Every viewer is part of Phase 4, the final on-screen text. If you're watching this, you've Season 2, Episode 1, Residual Memory. Cold open, black screen, no music, just breathing, not panicked, measured, clinical. A faint mechanical hum builds underneath. Then, a digital timestamp flickers onto the screen. 3 hours and 17 minutes. The numbers glitch. 3 hours and 17 minutes. 3 hours and 17 minutes. 3 hours and 17 minutes. They begin overlapping until the digits smear into white noise. Cut to, a woman's eyes snap open. Int. Bedroom, night. The room is soft gray. Minimalist. Too clean. Dr. Evelyn Hart lies on her back, staring at the ceiling. No visible windows. The air feels sealed. A digital clock beside her bed reads 3:17 a.m. She doesn't move. Her pupils dilate slowly, almost mechanically. She whispers, I remember. But her voice sounds layered, as if 2 voices spoke at once, one slightly delayed. Title sequence. Distorted memories flash rapidly. Daniel screaming inside a mirrored room. Malcolm Reed smiling behind broadcast glass. 2 identical men fighting under studio lights. A global feed collapsing into static. Then, a surgical diagram of the human brain. Highlighted region, hippocampus. Text overlay. Memory is a room. Someone always holds the key. Cut to black. Evelyn sits up slowly, Her expression isn't confusion, it's assessment. She scans the room like she's performing intake on a patient. Her gaze lands on a small circular object embedded in the smoke detector lens. Watching, she stands. Walks calmly to a mirror mounted across the room. She studies her reflection, no distortion, no glitch, but she tilts her head slightly, and for half a second, the reflection doesn't follow. It stares back, still, then sinks again. Evelyn doesn't react, instead. She whispers, latency. Int. Control room, unknown location, banks of monitors, dozens of feeds, each labeled with a name. Subject 14, Evelyn Hart. Subject 09, Daniel Cross, archived. Subject 22, pending activation. A young technician watches Evelyn's feed. She's showing early stabilization. A voice behind him responds, impossible. Her suppression level is set to 78%. We don't see the speaker, just a silhouette. Evelyn makes coffee. Her movements are precise, deliberate, like someone testing muscle memory. She opens a drawer. Inside, neatly organized utensils. Except one knife is out of place, slightly angled. She stares at it. A flash, blood on stainless steel. Daniel's face, calm, a mirrored room cracking. The flash ends. Her coffee mug trembles in her hand. She sets it down, walks to the wall, knocks, once, twice, hollow. She presses her ear against it, a faint vibration, like distant applause. Technician frowns. She's scanning structural boundaries. Silhouette voice, let her. Sir, if she achieves awareness, she won't. A pause, she designed this. Int. Hart's home office, bookshelves line the walls, neuroscience. Behavioral conditioning. Media ethics, one book catches her attention. Title, Constructed Guilt and Neural Compliance. Author, Dr. Evelyn Hart. She doesn't remember writing it. She opens it. The first page contains a handwritten note, memory suppression only. Works if the subject consents at least once. Her handwriting, but the ink is fresh. She flips to the last chapter. A photograph falls out. Daniel Cross, smiling, standing beside her. Behind them, a facility labeled Cognitive Entertainment Labs. Her breath catches. She whispers, no, another flash. Daniel in restraints, Evelyn adjusting a neural interface around his head. Her voice saying, Phase 4 begins tonight. Alarms begin blinking softly. Her hippocampal activity is spiking. Silhouette voice, reduce sensory stability. Lights flicker in Evelyn's house. Sound distorts slightly. The clock in her office jumps from 10:12 a.m. to 10:14 a.m. 2 minutes missing. She notices. She smiles faintly. You're editing me. She walks toward the bedroom. The hallway stretches slightly longer than before, subtle, almost imperceptible. She walks faster. The hallway elongates further. The walls breathe. The carpet pulses faintly under her feet. She stops, closes her eyes, whispers, this is not architecture. This is projection. The hallway snaps back to normal length. Control room monitors flicker violently. The silhouette figure steps into light. It's Malcolm Reed, older, calmer, watching Evelyn's feed. She's exceeding Daniel's thresholds. A technician says. Malcolm nods. She always was stronger. Do we terminate? Malcolm hesitates. No, escalate. Int. Hart's bedroom, night. It's suddenly night again, no transition. The clock reads 3:16 a.m. Evelyn stands in the center of the room, waiting. The second hand ticks, 3:17. The walls flicker, and the room dissolves. The illusion drops completely. She's not in a house, she's in a containment cube, white panels, glass ceiling, cameras everywhere. Beyond the glass ceiling, an auditorium, rows of people, watching her, live, not through screens, in person. Applause fills the chamber. Malcolm stands at a podium above. Ladies and gentlemen, he announces, welcome to Phase 5. Evelyn looks around calmly. You told them I volunteered. Malcolm smiles. You did. She shakes her head slowly. No, she looks up at the audience. You're all misremembering. A ripple of confusion moves through the crowd. Malcolm's smile fades slightly. Final act. Evelyn closes her eyes, breathes deeply, then speaks clearly. You're not observing me. You're inside my simulation. Silence, the audience laughs nervously, Malcolm stiffens, Evelyn continues. Daniel was phase 3. I was phase 4. But phase 5. She opens her eyes, is you. The lights above flicker violently, the auditorium walls glitch, the faces in the audience distort. Briefly, repeating, copy-pasted, some blink out of sync, technicians scream in the control booth, system recursion detected. Malcolm shouts, shut it down. But the walls dissolve further, revealing darkness beyond, not a studio, not a facility, an endless neural grid, floating consciousness nodes, millions, each labeled, Viewer 001, Viewer 002, Viewer 003. Evelyn steps forward, breaking the invisible barrier of her containment cube. She walks directly toward Malcolm. He tries to step back, but the floor under him pixelates. She whispers, you monetized guilt. You gamified morality. You turned memory into spectacle. She places her hand on his forehead, and now you remember. Malcolm screams, as flashes invade him, Daniel's real murder, the cover-up, the fabricated consent forms, the first live broadcast, but then, the scream glitches, repeats, loops, Evelyn's expression changes, confusion, she looks at her own hands. They're flickering, transparent, she hears Daniel's voice behind her, you're still inside it. She turns, Daniel stands there, calm, uninjured. You designed a simulation to punish them, he says softly, but you forgot something. What? Daniel smiles gently, you suppressed yourself too. The grid collapses, the auditorium vanishes, Malcolm vanishes, everything goes white. Final scene, a hospital room, real, concrete, fluorescent lighting. Evelyn sits restrained to a chair, no high-tech panels, no audience, just a simple observation window. A nurse speaks softly to another doctor. Patient heart is still experiencing narrative delusion. Does she remember the accident? No, and Daniel Cross? The nurse shakes her head, he died in the fire 5 years ago. Camera pans to a newspaper on a nearby table. Cognitive Entertainment Labs burns down, founder Daniel Cross among dead. Evelyn begins whispering, they're still watching. The clock on the wall reads, 3:16 a.m., it ticks, 3:17, the fluorescent lights flicker once, just once, cut to black.